Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session for this Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. We're going to before we begin our meeting, I want to share that we have a few different public comment periods, one of which is towards the beginning of the meeting on any agenda items, as well as we have a couple public hearings, so that's also additional public comment periods. And then we have, that's specific to those public hearings, and then we have general public comment at the end of the meeting. In any of those circumstances, people wishing to comment have up to 3 minutes to provide their remarks. A note during public comment is an opportunity for the public to share your thoughts, your perspective, your input directly with the City Commission. It is not a time for Q&A or back and forth. We can always arrange separate times for those conversations to be had. We do have phone-in comment as well, so if you're not able to join us in person, you can phone in. You also have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks by phone. I do encourage, if you're in the audience, to complete a public comment form at the back of the room. Please identify your name and your home address. Note, I will not be sharing your home address publicly, nor asking you to announce your home address. That is for our records. But I will be acknowledging, if you're a city resident, which neighborhood you're joining us from, and if you're not a City of Muskegon resident, which other township, village, or city you're joining us from. And before we get on with our Honor of the Awards presentations, our public hearings, and the rest of our agenda, we do have time for prayer and a Pledge of Allegiance. We don't have a faith leader here with us this evening, so we're just going to have a moment of silence, and then we're going to go into the Pledge of Allegiance. If you wish to join us in either of those activities, I ask that you to stand if you're so capable of doing so. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Gorman?
Here.
Commissioner Cochin?
Here.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Kilgo? Absent. Commissioner Keener? Absent. Commissioner German?
Here.
Thank you. All right, we're going to get started with honors, awards, and presentations. First up, we have Women's Veterans Day resolution. So this is a proclamation that the city has issued, the mayor has issued for the past few different years. And we're continuing it again this year. One difference this year is that where in years past we had our own city-specific Veterans Day, Women Veterans Day in April, this year we are aligning it with the National Women Veterans Day. So we're in sync in that regard. And so I'm going to read the proclamation and invite women veterans, any women veterans in the audience, up to the podium. You're welcome to share your thoughts with the commission, and I'll present the proclamation to you. So, National Women Veterans Day. Whereas Muskegon, Michigan salutes and remembers the many American female veterans who have courageously and honorably served in the military on behalf of our nation. And whereas women have formerly been a part of the United States Armed Forces since the establishment of the Army Nurse Corps in 1901, and have proudly served alongside and supported our nation's military efforts since the American Revolution. And whereas with over 2 million women veterans nationwide, and women comprising approximately 20% of today's active duty military, women veterans are the fastest growing segment of the veteran population. And whereas National Women Veterans Day is observed annually on June 12th, marking the anniversary of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act of 1948, which enabled women to serve as permanent, regular members of the U.S. military. And whereas on this day we commemorate the bravery, resilience, and sacrifice of women who have served our country in uniform and honor their invaluable contributions to our national defense and to their communities after service. And whereas the Muskegon City Commission affirms its deep appreciation for the service and sacrifices of women veterans and their families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kenneth D. Johnson, Mayor of the City of Muskegon, do hereby proclaim June 12th, 2025 as Women's Veterans Day in the City of Muskegon and encourage all citizens to join in recognizing and honoring the courage, the commitment, and contributions of America's women veterans. Cheers to our women veterans.
Take a picture.
We get
Oh, we get people to do that.
You all ready?
congratulations and thank you for your service to our community. We'll continue to support you. And you are welcome to share anything you wish with the City Commission and our city.
We just like to say on behalf of the women veterans, we just like to say, we thank you. I just like to say on behalf of the women veterans that we are honored today to be able to be recognized. A lot of times we have not, we've been on the back foot, but we as women, we also fought. I am an Army veteran that was at war as well. So I just thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart, and along with all of my other soldier sisters that are not here. We did it. Amen. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Last year, we had the honor to be in DC. So if you didn't know, because this is a national recognition for women veterans across the country, and last year, we took over 500 women veterans to DC, and it was called the Michigan, and she has the shirt there, the red shirt. I just wanted the commissioners and the community to know that we were on this flight last year when we flew into DC, and it was the Mid-Michigan flight, and there were so many women that represented our state that showed up in DC and was able to recognize women, and Muskegon was represented very well. And not only did we join the forces with women across the country, but two of our Muskegon photographers, and I don't know if you can see this or if I have to turn it around. How can the audience see it? But this was a photographer, these were two Muskegon photographers that took women veterans photos. And we are now going to tour across the country with Muskegon veterans in a project called Portraits of Her Service. So Muskegon will be put on the map. Yes. Across the country, and we wanted to share it today, as these are photos that were taken by some of our local photographers. And Mayor, we will make sure that there's a copy for all the commissioners and for the city as we tour for November Veterans Day. Yes. So we just want to say thank you. You're welcome.
It really is such a joy to have our women veterans join us every year so we can celebrate and honor their sacrifices. And I want to give a shout out particularly to Wink for all women veterans, women injured in combat. That has been a phenomenal organization that does good for so many. So thank you. All right, we are moving on to Climate Action Plan. This is being presented by Fresh Coast Climate Solutions, as well as our own. Kindly introduce yourself, sir.
Peter Wills, Director of Government Relations and Strategic Operations. Appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening, and it's a fine point in our city's history as we can hopefully get the city's organizational climate action plan adopted. We have vendors here this evening from Fresh Coast Climate Solutions, Becca Elder, and what she'd like to do is spend a few minutes like we did with the Legislative Policy Committee and walk through the voluminous information that is this the organization's climate action plan. Is something that the city, as well as mayor and commissioners, are committed to working through in the next number of years as we make a number of budget and policy decisions from this kind of information. So we're hoping that you will adopt that later in the consent agenda as well. So I will hand it over to Becca. I do have Jenny Orbach as well, who is one of the co-founders of the firm, and they will walk through this very briefly for you.
Thank you.
All right. Can everyone see my screen that says hopefully climate action plan?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for your time this evening. My name is Becca Elder. I'm a senior technical analyst at Fresh Coast Climate Solutions. We're a Michigan-based sustainability consultancy, and we've had the pleasure of developing the city of Muskegon's first climate action plan. So I'll talk briefly today about the climate action plan and associated documents that we've developed over the last 6 months alongside city staff. So the Climate Action Plan, often referred to as a CAP, for the city of Muskegon establishes a roadmap for achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions from municipal operations by 2040, while also improving the city's resilience to the impacts of climate change and lowering long-term operational costs. In total, this plan contains 5 focus areas, 18 objectives, and 97 actions. So I'll very briefly touch on some highlights of this plan here, starting with the executive summary. So the executive summary provides very high-level intended outcomes of the plan, background on the plan's development, and then focus areas of the plan. The 5 focus areas include buildings and facilities, vehicles, waste, land use and resiliency, and implementation. The 18 objectives of the CAP are also listed here in the executive summary and organized under their focus areas. All right, so we'll skip down to the introduction here. So the introduction provides a bit more information on the need for climate action and specifically climate in Muskegon, what we've seen historically and changes that are happening and also anticipated moving forward. And then we cover baseline greenhouse gas emissions for fiscal year 2024. We'll zoom down again. So each of the 5 focus areas in the plan has its own section. We'll go over the contents very briefly here of the buildings and facilities focus area, and then the other focus area sections are set up in the same way. So here you can find overview information about the focus area and relevant baseline greenhouse gas emissions data. And then we have a summary of the focus area's objectives. And then each objective has its own page in the plan. On the left here, for this very first objective page, you can see a narrative of this objective, and then the table on the right contains all of the actions under that objective with information about the benefits of each action and prioritization and timeline of the actions. So these attribute icons that you see highlight if an action is lower, no cost, has savings potential, funding opportunities available, priority actions, and high greenhouse gas reduction potential. As you can imagine, with 97 actions in the plan, it can be difficult to know exactly where to start. And so hopefully, this additional layer of detail, timeline, and prioritization provides a little bit more structure on where to get started and how to get started. And then finally, I will zoom down here to the appendix. So the appendix includes an additional layer of details for each action, providing guidance as to how individual actions may be implemented, special considerations, or if some progress has already been made towards actions in the plan, we've worked to include it here. From here, we'll switch over to the greenhouse gas emissions inventory report. As you can tell, this report was designed to coordinate with the climate action plan. It provides the results of fiscal year 2024 greenhouse gas inventory that are also included in the introduction of the climate action plan, but this document goes into a lot more detail on the inventory, the methodology, and the results, the specific data behind the inventory and whatnot. Then we'll move over to this climate action page on the City of Muskegon's website, and I'll just highlight finally that the inventory workbook can be found here, City of Muskegon FY 2024 GHG inventory. That's where you can find more details on the calculations. And then I want to mention that staff has been provided with an implementation matrix that contains additional resources for plan implementation, along with infographic-based slide decks, which are the Muskegon Buildings Plan and the Muskegon Vehicles Plan. So that just provides more of an overview of, how you might move from the smaller actions in the plan to the larger ones, and details of the plan. Okay, that is everything I have on my list to share. I'm not sure if we'll do questions now, but yeah, that is our climate action plan.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. And we appreciate you joining us this evening to present, and know that you've presented in greater depth and detail at our recent Legislative Policy Committee meeting, and the Commission had an opportunity to ask questions at that time and share their thoughts and perspective on this climate action plan. But I will open up to the Commission if they have any additional questions or follow-up questions from our previous engagement. Commissioners, questions? No? All right, does not look like we have any additional questions for you at this time. I will share that and reiterate, our appreciation for the work that you and your team have done in this pursuit. And I want to express my appreciation to Director Wills and our city manager and all of our department heads and division heads who have had a hand in the development of this action plan, as well as understanding, participating in that greenhouse gas inventory and audit that we had done previously, building on the work that this commission set us out to do in 2023 with the declaration of a climate emergency declaration, and tasking ourselves to develop that greenhouse gas audit, to develop this climate action plan, and then setting ourselves to the goal of becoming carbon net zero by 2040 at the latest. So we will work diligently to meet that goal as swiftly and feasibly as possible. But I'm excited to see the progress that is being made, and I very much look forward to see how this gets implemented. And so I like that we just heard from Rebecca about the implementation matrix. And so looking forward to seeing how we're able to, and we've already been taking steps in this regard, but I look forward to see how we're, the additional steps that we take going forward in revising our policies and retooling our fleets and our operations, and in pursuit of meeting that carbon net zero goal. So, Director Wills, do you have anything to
Nope.
additionally to share with us at this time?
No, thank you, Mayor, and I just publicly appreciate all the work and support that the Fresh Coast Climate Solutions provided the City of Muskegon. They're absolutely wonderful to work with from start to finish, and I was going to reference the information up on our own website, but Becca beat me to it, and that's completely appropriate for she and the firm, so thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Rebecca, and thank you, Jenny. Appreciate all the work that you've done. And Director Wills, again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care and be well.
Too.
All right, next up, we have a couple of public hearings, one of which is Neighborhood Enterprise Zone Certificate for 351 West Western Avenue, Units 7A through 7B, floors 2 through 5. Good evening, welcome. Kindly introduce yourself.
Good evening. I am Jocelyn Hines, Development Analyst for the City of Muskegon. So Neighborhood Enterprise Zones is not foreign to this commission. I have been up here several times presenting on these. This particular one is for the new phase of 351 West Western, which is Lakeview Lost Phase 2. So you all have received the Brownfield Plan Amendment for this particular project. You all approved that May 13th, 2025. So we are looking at 64 new apartment units. As this Phase 2, 41 will be studios and 23 will be one-bedroom units. According to the Brownfield Plan, and a contingency of the Brownfield Plan is approximately 50% of the apartments will be designated for individuals earning 120% or less of the area median income for a period of 30 years. We're looking at a cost of construction of about $232,000, give or take, for each unit. The developer, a representative of the development is here if there are any particular questions.
All right. So this is a public hearing. First, I'm going to open it up to questions for staff from the commission, and then we can invite the developer up for any questions specific to the project. And then we'll go to a public hearing and welcome any input or comments from the audience. Then we'll close the public hearing, and the commissioners can share their final thoughts before we go to vote. So first up, questions, commissioners. Any questions for Analyst Hines? No? All right. Do you have questions for the developer, or should, or the developer's representative, or shall I let him stay seated?
You can come up.
Okay. If you'd kindly come up, sir, and introduce yourself. And yeah, I think it'd be good to have an update on this project, where it stands and what the outlook is. So kindly introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Jared Belka with Warner Norcross here on behalf of the developer. He apologizes, he's actually out of state on his way back, so asked me to fill in. So always a pleasure coming for you guys, and appreciate your consideration of this project. As Jocelyn said, this is the NEZ request. You've seen the Brownfield Plan. I think everybody's very familiar with the project. I think there was a Cranes article that popped up today or yesterday. Can't remember, but it's an exciting new addition to this corner. Obviously, the continued development of downtown. I sing Muskegon's praises all the time in other communities that I work in. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and it is an exciting town, not just on the weekdays but weekends as well. But the request before you with the NEZ application, it didn't quite line up with the Brownfield Plan request, so we're here for this matter tonight. The developer continues to work through the appraisal component. They are seeking HUD financing, which, if anybody's gone through that process, knows it's a very lengthy one. So they are working through that, but hope to hit the ground running in short order thereafter to bring 64 new units, total of 84 with phase 1. This second phase is they're a little smaller units. The first phase were obviously less number of units, but larger units. These are studio and one beds. They'll have about 3,100 square feet of retail space on the first floor. So when we met with the Brownfield Authority, also DA had some good ideas about trying to work with them for the retail frontage. Josh had said that they're trying to design those so they can have perhaps smaller units and allow for more retailers that don't need to quite take down that much space. That gets a little tough. So trying to make it a flexible plan for the downtown, but they're really excited to get going to the downtown. So happy to answer any questions, but certainly appreciate your consideration.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Belko, and I appreciate that the thought behind providing potentially smaller format footprints for retail spaces as a potential stepping stone for folks coming out of our chalets, Western Marketplace, and being able to move into a permanent brick and mortar place, maybe a little bit larger than what they have in the chalets. But I'm going to open up the questions for commissioners. Any questions? Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the information. I appreciate you being here tonight to represent this project. When we look at, these are pretty much, most of them are going to be like market rate apartments, correct?
So they're targeting 120% or below. They are targeting lower than 120 with some of the studios in the one beds, but it does fall within the housing TIF program parameters.
And you mentioned HUD funding.
Correct.
You mentioned HUD funding
Correct.
also.
Yes.
So it would be somewhat I guess, attainable for?
Yeah,
So,
they're targeting, I think the studios averaged around like $1,100 a month.
Okay.
I think the one bed's maybe around $1,450, where it was being underwritten at.
Okay. And that's one of the concerns, when I talk about, projects and housing, I want to make sure the public understands, price point at some of these apartments, because everyone, as you know, due to a housing crisis and homelessness, can't afford to live, downtown or in some of these apartments. So you're asking for NEC certificate, was it, how many years?
15
15 years?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I know it's important to Josh. The goal of this project is to provide housing in the immediate downtown for people who are working downtown, and so they're not, so they have an option too. So some may say that seems like a lot of rent, but if you look around, that's a pretty reasonable amount of rent in the current environment. Unfortunately, the rents have continued to escalate, but it was important for Josh to try and deliver a project that meets kind of that missing middle component.
Right, and I understand it, and I get it. It's business, and for the timeline for your project, for completion, and when will it, you start?
Yeah, I know Josh was hoping to start yet this year. A lot of that just depends on the timing for HUD completion. I've been working on another project that is in a similar boat, and unfortunately, it's worth it for that long-term financing component, but it does take quite a bit. But that would be his goal. If everything wraps up, they'd like to get going yet this year.
All right,
Construction
thank you.
timeline, probably about a 18-month construction period, 18 to hopefully less.
One more question there.
Yes.
And when we look at having new development in our city of Muskegon, we look for equal opportunities for local contractors and things, and make sure that we are inclusive when we talk about hiring practices and things like that. Does your project and the scope of your project, where it fits the inclusiveness of the city that we serve here, where are you at on that? Can you speak on that?
So I'm not handling the construction component.
Yeah.
I do know that Josh is working with Wolverine as the general contractor. I know that they are, I've worked with them on plenty of projects, at them as the general contractor in the city of Grand Rapids. They have an inclusion plan process, which they are very well versed in. And I know working closely with subcontractors and available trades is important to them as well. So to the extent they can do that, there are folks qualified and have capacity for that work. I know that they'll certainly welcome those to bid on the project.
Yeah, and just one last note. I mean, I would hope that they work closely with the city of Muskegon, because also I would like to put some of the ownership on the city of Muskegon to make sure that they're informing our local contractors, for, minority, black contractors, female contractors, to be more inclusive, to give them leads to, work with, you in this project.
Yeah, and I know that Wolverine's obviously worked on other projects here in the city as well, so they know the importance of that partnership as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner German.
Yep.
Any other questions at the time? Commissioner Cochin.
I just have one question, just for clarification for the folks at home. When we're talking about the average rent for these apartments, for the 2 bedrooms, what do you think we're looking at?
Ooh, the 2 beds, those were in the first phase. I'll be honest, I'd have to follow up with you on that. I'm not certain of the, probably go over there and thumb through some stuff and find that for you, but I can look that up and get back to you on that.
Okay, and what about
They certainly are a little more, obviously, with a 2-bed, but. Yes.
And just for clarification, anyone watching or in the audience, this particular project has no 2 bedrooms. So it was in the original phase
Yeah.
one that had 2-bedroom units.
I was just curious, the difference between the 2 bedrooms and then the new ones we're building. So the ones that we're building now, the 1 bedrooms and the studios, how much do those run?
So the studios, I think, were around 1,100 a month, and the 1-bed was, either 13 or 14.50. I'd be happy to go, I can pull up my phone and find on the first phase what those average rents are going for.
May I pick? Oh, you're done? Yeah. Okay. In that same vein, though, because it's been identified and been agreed to already as part of the brownfield as well as other agreements, that 50% of the apartments will be designated for individuals earning 120% or less of their area median income. So, are you following MISTA rent and income limits with regard to that? So, like half of the units that are for 120% AMI and less, the rent will be based upon what their income is. So, they're essentially not paying more than a third of their household income for their housing, their rents.
That's correct, Mayor. That is the requirement. Those would be income qualified households. It's not a factor of just reducing the rent to anybody who shows up who is able to rent it. Those would need to be income qualified to make sure that they're not earning over that area and just afforded a an attainable unit in the downtown.
Thank you, Mr. Balco. Any other questions, commissioners, before we go to the public hearing? No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Balco.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. I don't have any comment forms presently to speak on this item. Is there anyone in the audience that does wish to speak on the issuance of an NEZ? So this is specifically to the issuance of a neighborhood enterprise zone certificate for 351 West Western Avenue, units 7A through 7B, floors 2 through 5. And look at any takers in the audience. We are going to go to the phones. That call-in number is 231-724-6721. Note, this is specific to the issuance of an NEZ certificate for this public hearing. This is not general public comment time yet. Doesn't sound like we have any takers for calling as part of this public hearing. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion.
So move.
Support.
Well, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing and approve the neighborhood enterprise zone certificate for 15 years for 351 West Western Avenue, Unit 7A and 7B, floors 2 through 5, and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign the certificate and resolution.
Now so move.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Cochin. Unless there's any further discussion, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, our next public hearing and our final public hearing before we get on to public comments and updates is Community Neighborhood Services 2025 Annual Action Plan. So, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name is Sharonda Carson. I'm the Director of Community Neighborhood Services. And at this time, we would like to conduct a public hearing for our 2025 Annual Action Plan. The plan is part of a 5-year consolidated plan, which was kicked off in 2021. The plan focuses on addressing key community priorities like housing, economic development, and increasing access to programs for youth and other valuable resources. As you review the plan, you will see that a significant portion of our resources is dedicated to preserving and improving housing in our community, with about 50% of our funds set aside for home repairs and another 20% in housing preservation for low-income families. Tonight is an opportunity to hear back from the community and give feedback, concerns, or consideration for our annual action plan.
Thank you, Director Carson. And so you're going to be doing an additional public hearing this Thursday as well?
Yes.
And what time is that and where can people go for that?
That will be in the same spot this Thursday at 10 a.m. for an additional public hearing opportunity.
So if folks are just tuning in now or learning about this community action plan and they have an opportunity to find it on our city website, review it, and you can give input directly to Director Carson in her office, or you're welcome to come to the public hearing this Thursday, June 12th at 10 a.m. in City Commission chambers at City Hall, 933 Terrace Street. So I'm going to first open up to the commission if they have any thoughts they wish to share with you or otherwise questions. After that, we'll go to the public and then we'll close it out. So commissioners, any questions for Director Carson at this time? Yes, Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director Carlson, for being here tonight. I have a couple questions, but here on the agenda where it talks about, well, you showed that 53% of the revenue is for housing programs and things like that. Okay, and now the fire station bond, could you just kind of talk about that a little bit? Because I'm looking at the projects here.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that being funded out of the same funding source that the rest of these projects are being funded out of?
Yes, the fire station bond is being funded with the Community Development Block Grant.
Okay.
So it looks like it's about 17% of our budget.
And I guess, I don't know if you can answer this. This might have been before you were working here. Initially, wasn't that supposed to be funded out of the general fund?
You're right. I wasn't here at that time. Mayor may be able to answer that better.
Yeah, I can give some insights to that. I wasn't here at the time either. Yeah. Neither were you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I know.
This had gotten started back when actually Leisure Services was still a division here at City Hall. So that's going back like more than 15 years. And so what I recall from reading minutes from the Citizens District Council, which oversees or is an advisory council with regard to community development block grant monies, is that the question had come to the CDBG about, or the Citizens District Council, and asking for their support for using community development block grant monies for financing of a new central fire station, which is the one downtown on Terrace Street. At that time, what had been presented by staff back then, none of those staff members are still with the city today, but those staff members back then had given a timeline or outlook of that the financing for those bonds would transfer at some point in the future, like a decade out, and it would be moved to the Downtown Development Authority to shoulder the cost of financing the bonds for the fire station. There was same, as I recall, and you'd have to talk to the prior city manager about this situation, because there was a issue affecting how much could be captured by the DDA once certain debt had been paid off. And so once the amount that the DDA could collect dropped precipitously, the DDA was no longer in a position to potentially cover the financing for the Central Fire Station bonds while still doing any of the other services or programming that they provided downtown. And so that was the issue. So it wasn't anything that was set in stone, but it was more of like, this is a path forward, and that had been anticipated and expected, but there were a number of different dynamics that came into play that did inhibit that being fully shifted to the DDA. Now, in recent years, we have been reducing the reliance on community development block grant dollars for financing of the bonds. So we've reduced that, and our intent is to continue to reduce that over time. So it's no longer fully funded through CDBG, but the lion's share is funded from CDBG, and we are over time looking to lessen that reliance on CDBG funding for the financing. So I hope that
that shed some light on it. I mean, it
gave you some information, insights.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. And that's one of the concerns that I have, because these are HUD funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's coming in, and specifically to help people, such as the housing program with home repair and things like that. And we're funding this fire station bond, which initially should have been funded out of the funding from the general fund. So to me, it appears that, it's not appear, we're actually taking money from HUD, which can actually be beneficial and help people in need. Even though, Mayor, you talked about this is lessening the payments or funding, to pay that off. Where are we at right now as far as paying that bond off? Anyone have those figures?
I do. I have to go digging in my files.
All right.
But I think
Financial
Mr.
director.
Manager
Yeah,
had
and,
something else to
and I
share.
just wanted to clarify that the use of CDBG funds for fire station bond payments is perfectly allowable under the CDBG program. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So it is an allowable use, and it's how the city's chosen to use it for the past decade plus.
I just wanted to clarify, did you want to know where we are at year
The,
wise?
the amount wise.
The amount
Yeah,
wise?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that figure.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I wanted to find out, get some clarity on that, how much we owe, where we're at, how many years out.
I will.
If you would like,
Oh,
if
found
the
it.
I
cool.
was gonna say, I
found
could
it.
share it with you
Information.
later.
Please
So
do.
it is looking like it will be paid off in 2033.
So you
is
got ways
the-
to go.
8 more years.
And so the bond payments have peaked this year and are going to start declining each subsequent year until being paid off in fiscal year 2033. So this current fiscal year, the one that's concluding at the end of this month, looks like that's the peak annual payment for the bonds, and it'll start decreasing each year thereafter. And then we'd already started, I think 2022 is when, or 2022 or 23 is when we started dialing back how much we were funding the bond payments out of CDBG. And so we've been decreasing that bit by bit.
And the payments, what are we paying when we make those payments?
It's
So we are also, Central Dispatch is paying for them, and so it's not entirely the city. There's a portion, and this document that I'm reading with the schedule is a little outdated. It does not reflect the updated, because when we renegotiated the lease with Central Dispatch, I think we had them kicking a little bit more, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm looking for
remember that.
confirmation from some other folks, but I think that we had Central Dispatch kicking a little bit more for financing those bonds as part of the renegotiated lease. And so these numbers would not necessarily be accurate in terms of who's paying what, but the total bond payments would be accurate, and then the timeline would be accurate. But in terms of the percentage of who's paying what, this is a little outdated.
So, okay, thank you. Now, Director Carlson, would it be fair to say that right now we're looking at, out of the HUD dollars, the fire station bond, they're receiving about $235,000 average,
Yeah.
pretty much right now?
Yeah, a little bit less than that, but yeah.
Okay, all right.
So, for the budget that we did the presentation on, and that's on for the agenda for the approval tonight, the amount's been lessened to 200,000
Okay,
Yeah.
for
for this coming fiscal year.
okay,
For the budget that's up for tonight.
so
yeah.
$35,000 less.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where will those dollars be allocated to? Because I'm looking at, $20,000 for youth programs, and we have a huge crisis here with youth and stuff. So I'm just trying to see how we can free up money to, help some of these other programs, like, which is very essential, to the community and what, volunteers and nonprofit organizations are trying to do. And, it just makes sense, to be able to, put dollars where they're actually really needed. Not saying that, hey, the bond, we have to pay that. But, of course, again, that money should have been taken out of the general fund. So, so.
So the CDBG budget is going to be coming to the City Commission potentially next month.
Right.
So there was a delay with the federal government in terms of the allocation of that. So we have actually not. This is not budgeting the
Right,
dollars.
right.
This is the annual action plan, which is the guiding document for the different objectives and programs that the dollars are expected to be used for. And these plans do a comprehensive update every 5 years. But
comp
you
plan.
have to update it every year. But like you kind of have a 5-year timeline or
Right,
outlook.
Right. Yeah, so the 5-year is our goals that we want to accomplish in that 5-year period. And so it'll renew after, I think that year is 2027. It's when we'll have a new plan. So at that time, we'll be able to look at other goals and objectives to consider for the future.
And that will be done in concert with our Citizens District Council.
And
if
other
we,
agencies
we
and
make those
stakeholders.
appointments. You invite all the other community partners to weigh in on
Yep.
the plan, do additional public hearings, and then the CDC. You present a budget to the CDC. They look at it, make a recommendation to us. Ultimately, it comes to the City Commission, and the City Commission decides to approve or modify that proposed budget from staff and the Citizens District Council.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And,
Yeah, no problem.
And so we can look at ways to try to allocate more dollars to programs that's really needed. And this is something that the city took on way before I got here. So, so I thank you for your insight. But I would like any information that you have.
Well, I can say that we have met the Citizen District Council and myself to determine where we would want to put those extra fire station bond funds. And right now, we're looking to put that into home repair. We have a significant need for home repair services, and with us being pretty much through, we're almost complete with this comp plan, we thought that it'd be just a good idea to keep going forward with the home repair.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, thank you, Director Carlson.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German.
Yep.
And thank you for sharing, how the CDC advised to use the freed up resources from reducing the bond payments
Yes.
for this year. Commissioner Cochin, who is our Commissioner Liaison on the Citizens District Council.
I am, yes. And so I was kind of sitting back and going, I can pull that up. And while I did that, the mayor already had that pulled up. So I appreciate you, Mr. Mayor, for being a little bit quicker on the draw there. The fire station bond is something that I know that I've brought up before as well. And I know we've all had our conversations during the CPGB meetings. It's something that it does take a lot of funds away from critical services. And I would like to echo Commissioner German's sentiment that I think that involving and helping to fund community organizations reaches more people. We can do a lot of good with the housing program dollars, but I think that we reach more people and touch more lives when we spend it on community resources. I just wanted to share that, but thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Anything else to ask at this time? This year? Okay. I would just want to note, and this just to put a cap to, a button into with regard to the fire station bond financing, because this is something that I have for several years addressed. And before I was mayor, I was a city commissioner, and I was also the commissioner liaison on the Citizens District Council, and it was something that I had advocated for, reducing the reliance on CDBG funding for the fire station bonds. And so we've been in recent years slowly but surely doing so. Something to keep in mind, though, that if we were, the commission can choose. If the commission says we're not going to be using CDBG dollars whatsoever to pay for those fire station bonds, the commission can choose to do so. The thing that we have to keep in mind, though, is now you have a shortfall that you need to come up with those money elsewhere. And so that means we're going to have to transfer money or reallocate or reorient dollars that are already going to other programs or services or staffing that's supported by general fund. So there are trade-offs that we'd have to be considering. If we're not going to, use, and we're not fully fund or financing those bonds through CDBG, but if we want to, go to zero, this year, the commission has that choice. But we need to figure out, what are we sacrificing to do so? Are we going to not, are we not hire a new firefighter? Are we not going to, hire a new police officer? Are we not going to make that capital improvement in our parks? So there are trade-offs that would have to be considered. So I just wanted to share that and for our own, knowledge of this, but also the community's understanding on this issue. Because I think we all, I suspect we're all in agreement or of the mind that we want to reduce the reliance on CDBG dollars for the fire station bonds. And we may come to shove sooner, because in the current federal proposed budget for the next fiscal year, there's $0 for community development block grants. In which case we're going to have to figure out that shortfall regardless. However, we all have the power to advocate to our federal legislators, our federal officials about the importance of this community development block grant monies and those HUD dollars and how they serve our community, so that hopefully we'll continue to see funding come to serve the folks in our community. So thank you, and we're going to open up to a public hearing now, and if anyone has anything they wish to ask or share, we will not be answering, but when we before we close the public hearing, we'll have Director Carson answer any questions if she's capable of, has the answers to do so. But we're going to go to public hearing now. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to give input on this annual action plan for our community neighborhood services? Doesn't look like we have any takers in the audience, so I'm going to go to the phones. That phone number is 231-724-6721. This is for comments specifically to a public hearing for Community Neighborhood Services 2025 Annual Action Plan. Does not sound like we have any takers for this public hearing. And commissioners, I would entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Koshin, to close this public hearing. There's otherwise no action to be taken at this time. The CDBG budget will be forthcoming to the commission for future consideration. So unless there's any final thoughts to share, roll call. Wait, no, roll call. Roll call on the closing of the public hearing.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have federal, state, county, and officials update. And we do have our County Commissioner, Jessica Cook, here. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. Jessica Cook, Muskegon County Commissioner for District 6, which includes a large portion of the city of Muskegon.
So
go ahead.
Before we get
yes,
started,
I
just
live
wanna
in.
know, so this is not public comment time.
Yes.
So we're not going to
I'm ready.
time it. Okay, thank you. That's for when we get to public comment. But we do, encourage you to,
I'm not long-winded.
but we're not going to cut you off right through because this is not a public comment. This is an update from our government partners. So.
Yes. Well, I am just really happy to report that I am fresh from a special full board meeting at the county. And we just signed a new 3-year contract with our administrator, Mark Eisenbarth. And it's just an honor and a joy to have him on board with us for the next 3 years. We went through a long period of consideration with this new process, and we really feel like he's the right person. He has been our county administrator for 11 years now. He served the county for a long time before that, and he led us through a period of great change and turmoil through the pandemic, and has seen us through that just in a really good financial place, and through a period of growth in the last few years. And we're looking forward to another great 3 years with him, building and maintaining the infrastructure to help support all of this great growth in the city of Muskegon, and continuing to expand our services to all of our residents, including transportation, public health, and all of the great things that the county does. So happy to report that good news. Just a couple of other updates for you. Just in the past month, I know it's been a while since I've been here, but I'll just hit on a couple of things. We had the great honor today of having a representative from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services here to award accreditation to our public health department. It just really shows that our health department is committed and doing all the right things to safeguard our county's public health. And we heard some stories about the work that they kind of do behind the scenes that we don't see as consumers on a daily basis. Just great news. They have a wonderful reputation with the state. I just wanted to say, the Michigan Public Health Accreditation standards assure local health departments maximize their potential to protect and improve people's health in their communities. Accreditation is a successful program for routinely assessing performance and improving quality, and the state has had nothing but good things to say about our public health department. So, great news. And then just one little item of interest from our full board meeting last month, we accepted an increase in our DTE Energy Assistance Program. Historically, this project has funded mostly replacing HVAC equipment for low-income homeowners in Muskegon County. It's administered by the county, but most of the paperwork and screening of homeowner eligibility is done right through our contractor partners. I know that Bowen Heating and Cooling is one of our biggest partners, but our list has really grown this year because this DTE has expanded to allow for weatherization and home repairs, which was great news. Our original budget for this year was $3.8 million, and they just increased it. The state awarded us $7.3 million from Muskegon County for this year. So we're going to be able to provide weatherization and energy efficiency upgrades to 600 households in Muskegon County instead of the originally projected 200. So
Awesome.
great news, and we'll make sure that 211 has all of that information available if anyone is listening and interested if they qualify for the program. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you. We appreciate you joining us this evening and giving us those updates. And great news indeed. And thank you for the work of you and your colleagues.
Thank you.
Do we have any other federal, state, or county officials in the audience that wishes to give an update at this time? I don't see any. So we're going to move on to public comment on agenda items. Presently, I have one form for an agenda item. That is Jeffrey Pinella joining us from the Nelson neighborhood. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks, sir.
Okay. I am Jeffrey Pinola. Hello and good evening. My name, for some of you that don't know, is Jeffrey Pinola, and I wanted to speak on how much item Agenda J, the Pride flag being flown, meant to our community. I just stepped down as president of Muskegon Pride and wanted to come today to say thank you times a million. Thank you from every person who attended the festivals these last 4 years. Thanks to everyone who voted and lended a hand in helping make this magical city prideful and colorful. When I came to a dear friend of mine, Michael Ramsey, previous city commissioner at the time, and was like, hey, this is something I want to do. How do I do it? Him and Rachel Gorman and many, many others came to my aid and truly helped make the magic of what you see here in this great diversity of Muskegon. Jackie, Ann, Rebecca, Mayor Ken, Emily, Sarah, Carla, so many. When we came here a couple weeks ago, I got to hear from each of you how you went down the line and spoke on how you were for Pride and the Pride flag and what it means and represents, and hearing how you have friends and loved ones who are of this community. And let me tell you that they made them proud by standing with them. I have truly had the honor to get to be a part and bear witness to all the good and openness you have shared. Will, your comment on how you have grown your views from last year to this year, and how you see things is a true testament on how just educating yourself on something you don't understand and learn to open yourself up should be a lesson to people that still need some education, to the people who are here in this room or at home, online, watching. So give it up for Will. I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be around, but I just want to give props to where they are due, and I applaud you, my great city leaders, for sticking up with the diversity and the minorities, because everyone matters. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this evening. This is all the forms I have on agenda items right now. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on an agenda item? All right, we're going to go to the phones. That number is 231-724-6721. This is public comment on agenda items only at this time. All right. Does not sound like we have any callers. Oh, we've got one. Good evening. You are with the City Commission for our general session. This is public comment on agenda items. If you could kindly introduce yourself and which agenda item you're speaking on.
This is James from Muskegon. I am calling for two reasons. The first, to discourage our commission and city management from adopting official identity-based flags and engaging in identity politics by way of flag displays at City Hall. The display of identity-based flags puts our city at significant legal risk to lawsuits brought by First Amendment auditors. These auditors will attempt to raise other identity-based flags at City Hall, and if our commission denies their request, they will sue our city. The best course of action would be to follow the guidelines set in the city's current flag policy. Legal scholars commended the decision when the policy was implemented in 2022. But now in 2025, Mayor Johnson, Commissioner St. Clair, and Manager Seifert are spearheading the elevation of speech from a group they claim allegiance to above all other groups. In a recent Facebook post, Mayor Johnson described how city employees are taking actions to insulate the city from lawsuits. His comments suggest the city is spending extra money on an issue that was resolved several years ago. This seems like a wasteful use of taxpayer money. City officials should not be spending our funds on workarounds to the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. My second reason for calling relates to the draft social media policy. I would like to see language included in the document that specifically prohibits the act of doxing by city employees and elected officials on social media sites. Recently, I made comments via an online alien on Mayor Johnson's Facebook page regarding the identity-based flag and how I believe his actions stifle free speech. Rather than engaging with my ideas, the mayor chose to seek out my personal information against my wish to remain anonymous and post my information on his page. Mayor Johnson chose the violent act of doxing to chill my ability to speak freely. He should apologize for his actions and encourage an update to the social media policy to include a prohibition on doxing. That is all from me. To the mayor, commissioners, and public, thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you calling in tonight and sharing your perspective. All right. Do we have any other callers?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioners, we are moving on to consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for staff consideration and vote? Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Item E as in Edward, and item J as in Jack.
All right. Commissioner Cochin.
Item D as in dog and G as in goat.
And Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Item F, please.
Yeah. Commissioner Gorman, any?
No.
All right. Unless there are any others, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, minus items D, E, F, G, and J.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. All right, first item, D, social media policy and guidelines. Commissioner Cochin. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's roll call on that consent agenda.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, now let's dig into social media policy and guidelines. Item D, Commissioner Cochin.
I move to approve the social media use policy and guidelines as presented, authorizing its immediate implementation.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Commissioner German. Good evening and welcome. Kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Deborah Sweet, the Community Engagement Manager. In front of you is an updated version of the social media policy and guidelines. It was discussed at a previous meeting and then most recently at the Legislative Policy Committee meeting. We took away a couple of action items there that were detailed in the detailed summary of the agenda item review form. The first of those is updating the language that encourages officials to distinguish their elected pages from personal ones and to understand legal responsibilities. To a request to separate the campaign and official pages was removed, recognizing that incumbent elected officials may use their official pages for campaigning. And then the second was a correction of wording that you guys had noted or found. Other than that, I think we've reviewed it quite a few times, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Cochin.
I just wanted to highlight that there were some changes that were made at the Legislative Policy Committee meeting, or since then, that the folks at home didn't quite see. So can you kind of just expound a little bit on what the social media use policy and guidelines is going to be, like just a snapshot?
Yes, the social media policy and guidelines, it is not something that we've had before. It has been brought before us mostly because of the 2024 U.S. Supreme Court case on the ruling of Linked versus Freed, which basically separates what the city can and cannot say versus what elected officials can say, and how we as a government entity can protect ourselves, and how we are also going to record and keep all of the records of our social medias, so they're FOIA-able and anything and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And to touch base on what the caller was calling about in regards to doxing, that's not in there, correct?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Anything else to ask or add at this time, commissioners? Nope. All right. Thank you so much for your work on this. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item E, sale of 286 Myrtle, 518 Oak, and 450 Orchard. Commissioner German.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize staff to sell the city-owned vacant lot at 286 Myrtle Street, 518 Oak, and 450 Orchard to RSW Holding LLC at Barrowstone Capital LLC.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Good evening. Kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
Hi, I'm Sam Poulos. I am the code coordinator for the city of Muskegon. And this is a purchase agreement to, for our SW Holdings and Barrowstone Capital LLCs to purchase these three addresses, 286 Myrtle, 518 Oak, and 450 Orchard. Two of those lots will be split, so we'll end up with a total of 5 single-family homes being built. These houses are going to be built to sell. Their price ranges will be $205,000 to $225,000. They'll be 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranches. They should be constructed within 9 to 12 months. They are the same house that has been approved by the commission at 1221 Sanford, 312 Jackson, and 283 and 287 East Walton. And the developer plans to apply for NEZ to help with the affordability of the houses. These are a small incremental developer that the planning department that myself made contact with, father and son, Ron and Taylor Webb, that's the LLCs. And they would like to purchase these lots to build homes for our residents or our new residents.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Poulos.
You're welcome.
Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here. Is the developers here tonight?
No, they're not.
Okay. So I had a few questions I would like to
I can try to answer. I'm
yeah.
very familiar with the
Okay.
project.
Are they from the area and, a portfolio, a history of what they have built, and have they done work in the community before?
They have done a little work. I mentioned those addresses. They've been involved with that, and they are from the Holland area.
Okay. And these are what, like, single-family homes, you say? We'll be looking at 3-bedroom homes? Or?
3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay. So we're looking at splitting a lot also.
2 of the
increase it.
lots.
Okay.
We'll split the lot.
So, and how large are those lots going to be?
sure if I have the measurement exactly, but they will be around 35 feet after the split, I believe. I don't have the exact measurement for those.
Okay, 35 feet
Mhm.
width and how?
Well, the 286 Myrtle, that's gonna be 33 feet wide and 140 feet deep. And I believe the 450 Orchard is in comparable size to that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to vision that because I noticed the lots are getting smaller and smaller, and we're building on these homes, and the character of the neighborhoods are changing. Citizens are more used to the historical characteristics of the homes. Of the community where they had more space, larger spaces, and more yard. Now it's more congested. It's being more congested now. That's a concern. When I hear from residents. So yeah, that's all I have right now.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Vice Mayor St. Clair, anything to ask or add at this time?
Yes. You mentioned that these are ranch.
Yes.
Okay, that is something that we don't get a lot of new builds of, do we?
Well, we didn't, but it seems to be gaining popularity, and it's what I would consider a shotgun ranch. So you see the short side of it from the street. Because of our zoning reforms, that's allowed us to build homes like this on smaller lots.
And will these be on a basement or a slab?
These are on a slab, I believe.
Okay, so then we can expect that they might be zero-step accessible,
I believe.
easy to age in place, something
I
that the
have a
community
house
is looking
plan.
for?
I have some elevations if you'd like to take a look at it. Floor plan elevations, if you'd like to take a look at it.
I know I have several friends who are house shopping right now and are bemoaning the fact that we don't have enough ranch houses in the city of Muskegon in particular because they want to age here
Well,
and they don't want stairs.
They should come to
so-
Steele. We have many ranch houses in Steele.
All
so.
right, I will point her in those directions. Thank you. That was all my questions.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner Kosher, Commissioner Gorman, do you have anything to ask or add at this time? No? Okay. Any follow-up, Commissioner German?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. These homes are actually in Ward 2, in my ward, and when I hear from my fellow constituents and what they want to see in their communities, the citywide zoning and the changing of ordinance and has allowed for this type of building. It changes the characteristics of the neighborhood, and that's a concern for taxpayers. Even though we're open and welcoming to all that comes to the city of Muskegon, but I would have liked to heard from the developer themselves. I wish they were here to present this request. So I'm just not in favor of supporting this at this juncture.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Any other follow-up before we go to roll call? No. Nope. All right. Thank you, Ms. Poulos. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
It's easy.
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Contract Award SP 92339, City Parks Parking Lot Improvements. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Thank you. I move to authorize staff to enter into a contract with McCormick Sand Incorporated for the amount of $621,571 for parking lot reconstruction work within Reese Playfield, Sheldon Park, Buckham Playfield, and Grand Trunk Launch Ramp.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Cochin. Good evening, good sir. Kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Dan Vanderhyde, Director of Public Works for the City of Muskegon. This is an item to further the Parks Capital Improvement Plan. This will be in majority funded by the ARPA allocation given to that program. And specifically, this is repaving several parking lots at the locations just listed: Reese, Sheldon, Bucoma, and Grand Trunk.
So, as someone who lives real close to Grand Trunk and sometimes hauls my kayak down there to throw it in the water, I just want to say how excited I am about Grand Trunk getting a new facelift. That parking lot is catastrophically bad. So, and I imagine that it is probably no worse than any of the other parking lots on this list. So I think that these are things that we don't think about a lot when we think about like what is good for our community and quality of life issues. We don't think about pavement in parking lots, but I think it is important. I think it is part of the character of our community. And, you know, right now we have the shuttle stopping at Grand Trunk and people are trying to park there and they're really confused about where to park because the parking lot is so strange. And all that to say, I'm excited that we're doing this. I think it's a great use of the ARPA funds, that it's a creative use of funds that we don't have money to pave parking lots generally, and I appreciate that the fact that this was prioritized because I think it is a community benefit. So
I appreciate that. I'm up here because it's a boring parking lot project, and so the engineering group is going to manage it. But really, the credit goes to you all, for choosing to invest in things as boring as parking lots, but as necessary as those, right? And also the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission and Director Karchesky and his staff for making this happen.
yay, parking lots.
You're here. Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner Cochin.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to echo some of that because I think that this list is pretty spot on. I've been to 3 of these parking lots, and every time I go, my daughter says, "Mom, don't go down the bumpy road." So I'm very happy to hear that these are going to be taken care of, and hopefully with the Grand Trunk launch ramp parking lot, that will be reconfigured so it's not as confusing for folks.
It will be, yes.
But I think that the people who utilize these playgrounds, utilize their boating opportunities, will be much happier once this is completed. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Anything else to ask or add, Commissioners? No? All right. So as was mentioned with regard to Grand Trunk being a little confusing, that parking lot there, as part of constructing, we say reconstruct, but it's just gravel. It's not really,
It was pavement at one time.
At one time it was
not,
paved and
it
just
was.
dissolved into gravel.
Yep.
So reconstructing then the parking lot at Grand Trunk, we anticipate having better signage and markings to indicate, this is the trailer parking area where you're going to need to have a launch ramp permit. This is the general parking area where no such permit is required, so that it's clear. There's no confusion and nobody's getting mistakenly ticketed or fined. That's the expectation to coincide with reconstruction.
Yes, so there will be, when this project is done, there will be 2 effectively separate lots, one for trailer parking only, one for car parking only. The car parking one will be up closer to the pavilion to function more as a trailhead and so forth, but will still be relatively close to the ramp for those launching kayaks and such. But it will be clear. You'll make a left or a right, depending on which vehicle type you are in.
All right, excellent. Thank you. If there's nothing else, roll call, please.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, G, Cruzy Park Naturescape Playground Award. Commissioner Cochin.
I move to approve staff to enter into a contract with Nature Playscapes in the amount of $152,597 for a Naturescape playground at Cruz Park based on their innovation, sustainability, qualifications, and experience building naturescapes in Michigan.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Good evening, good sir. Kindly introduce yourself and please report out on this item.
Yes, I'm Kyle Krajewski, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Muskegon. So, another park improvement, and this one came from our master planning. As we all know, we've added some playgrounds to the city. Cruzy Park had a very old playground that's been removed, and we wanted to provide a solution. Through the master planning, though, the community and the master planners had picked out a naturescape. Naturescapes were new to me, and it took some learning for me to do. I went and traveled around Michigan and checked quite a bit of them out. And although it's definitely a different playground than our traditional ones, but kids love them, and it's a much different experience at them. And every time I go to one, I notice all the other kids and parents who arrive and say, wow, this is so cool. This is such a fun park. So really excited to add this to Cruzy. And the company we're working with, we've, like I said, I checked out some of their products, and they make some really interesting sustainable parks and playgrounds, and they want to have a lot of signage and education, environmental education for the community too. So I think it'll function more than just a playground. It'll be a learning experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you, Director Karcheski. Commissioner Cochin.
Yes. First of all, can we show some of these really awesome pictures?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Madam Clerk, could you scroll down?
Yes.
I think that's should be in our packet. And one of the areas.
So one interesting thing about these is most of the playgrounds we have, they're called closed play, which is you see a playground and 99% of people do the same thing on it. This is free play, open play. The idea is that kids will use their imagination more and have more of a connection with the environment. The group has also talked to us about using certain trees that are deemed to be removed in the city that we could use on this project, and we would have signs to show that, and we'd also, show what types of tree those are. They're also building a little berm and a little path that you can crawl under, and it's like I said with these, they do seem kind of different at first, but what a kid does when they walk up to these, it's pretty amazing how they it's all imagination. And I think in the RFP we said something like we want it to reflect playing in the woods, and so that's the idea, to get kids more interested in playing in the woods than just playing on a metal structure.
Yeah, this is something I think is so important, especially in an urban environment, right? Like
Yes.
we have a lot of people who are disconnected from nature in a lot of ways, and this allows them to get more involved and get out and play and use their imaginations. The first time I took my daughter to one of these, I think I was in like the Holland area, and I was just blown away. Like, this is really cool. It reminded me of playing in the woods as a kid and building forts, and all of this is perfectly safe materials, and it really allows kids to get out, run, play, climb, and kind of get involved and immersed in the area. So I'm excited to see this coming to fruition. I know that a lot of folks at the improvement plan process were excited about it too. So, yay!
I think it fits well in Cruzy too. We look at where it's located and all the trees there. Like I said, it took some learning and convincing for me to do, but I respect the community picking that out, and I'm glad I turned myself around on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Vice Mayor St. Clair?
I really appreciate the fact that this is something that isn't brightly colored plastic that's going to degrade and fade, and that it blends in. Cruzy Park is a really unique amenity, and I think that this is the best sort of playground setup that we could have chosen for that. So I'm excited to see how the kids play with it. I think it's going to be a really nice addition to the playground system.
You're here. Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner German or Gorman, anything to ask or add at this time?
just more of a comment. I think it's different, and I wasn't aware of what it was either. So either, but it gives, like you said, children a chance to use their imagination and be out there in that nature, that environment, and looks pretty safe also. So I guess, at my age, when I was younger, if I looked at this and, being a Boy Scout or something back then, and, this is something that I could adapt to as a teenager or kid or something like that. So yeah, it's different though. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner
Yeah.
German. Thank you, Director Karczewski. I appreciate that you recognizing this wasn't something that you were familiar with. This is something that you've done before, but that you were receptive and responsive to the feedback of our community. And we undertook master planning for our Parks and Recreation, and did significant engagements and welcoming feedback, and that was incorporated into a focused master plan for Cruzy Park, and that you carried that forward with the naturescape in here. And I think it's a great concept. I'd like to see this being incorporated into our park system. I'd like variety. I think it's nice to have something different for different folks. This master plan, along with our other master plans, are available for viewing on our city's website through Connect Muskegon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this master plan for Cruzy Park is online, and it also reflects the restoration of the accessible ramp at Cruzy Park. And so an RFP, request for proposal, is being published or about to go live for the engineering of that ramp at Cruzy Park, correct?
Yeah, several of the more complex master plan concepts, and that being one of them. Of course, there's there's another one, an 88 kayak launch at Richards Park. That's in the floodplain. So we still have some hurdles to get through with permitting when you're doing anything on a dune. But we are moving forward and being creative with what we can accomplish.
All right, moving forward with engineering for those aspects of the master plans. Well, we do have capital allocations or capital plan to fund those things, and are looking to get them done within the next year or so.
Yes.
Awesome. And so I really appreciate you moving this forward, and I'm excited to see the naturescape being installed, as well as the other mini improvements that are getting underway. So thank you so much. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Absent.
sorry. Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, J, official City of Muskegon Pride and Juneteenth flags. Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the City of Muskegon Pride flag and the City of Muskegon Juneteenth flag as alternative official city flags.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Cochin. Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. When I seen this on the agenda, it definitely gave me some pause. I know we have a flag policy set in place, and I think it violates that if we were to adopt this. And hearing from one of the public comments, the gentleman talked about possible lawsuit. I think it opens the floodgates to lawsuits, knowing that we have a policy that was set in place. What's the use of having a policy if you're not going to adhere to it? I'm totally opposed against this. And due to the fact that we do have a policy. Now, also, to put any type of symbol or anything on a flag, especially the flag that is an independence flag for blacks, African American, due to that time of oppression, discrimination, the atrocities that they went through. Now we're recognizing Juneteenth as an independent national holiday, here in the city of Muskegon, but also recognized by the federal government as a national holiday. To put any type of image on that flag would be a disgrace. I wouldn't put one on the American flag. It would be a disgrace. So, given that said, I think we should stick to the policies we voted on. You know, flying these flags, I don't have a problem flying them, but I just think we should stick to the policy and don't open ourselves up to legal issues, anything like that. So that's my take on that.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Before I go to you, to Commissioner Cochin, I was remiss in not asking the city manager to report out on this item, or I could report out this item, whichever. The rationale or the basis for bringing forward these flags, it was a conversation that I had with the city manager earlier this year about the prospect of flying flags at City Hall, and particularly with respect to the existing flag flying policy. The city manager at that time had shared how some other municipalities throughout the country have handled flag flying policy or practices in the wake of a Supreme Court ruling from a few years ago with regard to the city of Boston. And he had specifically referenced the city of Utah and that they had branded these flags and adopted them as their official city flags as a workaround, essentially, you know, or to adhere to that and to better insulate or protect themselves. And so you heard earlier we talked about insulating ourselves from lawsuits. That's specifically what the rationale was for these particular flags, the branded flags. There is a existing city flag flying policy that was updated in 2022. I think it was September or October of 2022 that had been adopted by the city commission at that time and prompted by legal counsel in response to that U.S. Supreme Court ruling with regard to Boston. And at that time, the policy was to essentially limit flag flying flags to the U.S. flag, the state flag, the county flag, the city flag, flags of our sister cities, as well as flags of visiting dignitaries, or if we had, you know, delegations from other countries, you know, the consulate or the embassy, that we could fly those flags as well. And the commission adopted that, and so that helped put some contours into flag flying policy, one for our clerk's office to understand what our expectations are so that when they got those requests, they could point to that policy. But it was understood when we adopted that policy that, or at least there was some conversation at that time when we adopted that policy with regard to opportunities for municipalities to engage in government speech. And so that's what we did at our last meeting when we adopted a resolution or multiple resolutions that enabled us to fly both the Juneteenth flag as well as the Progressive Pride flag. And those resolutions were forms of government speech. Those acts actually deviate or differ from the established policy. So the actions we've already voted on and taken differ from established policy, but we are within our powers to do so as a matter of a formal expression of government speech. And so adopting these particular flags as city flags would not be a violation or deviation from our established policy, because the policy speaks to City of Muskegon flags being able to be flown. So if these were to be adopted as city flags, then they would comply with existing policy and then enable the city manager and appropriate administrative, our staff leaders to choose to fly them without having to, you know, come to the commission every time for approval. If they wanted to put up a flag, they could do so. And so that was the impetus behind it and the conversations that were had. And I appreciate the city manager for bringing forward some potential solutions and ways forward with regard to flying of these flags. And so that's why we're here now, to discuss and debate if this is something that we want to do and adopt as official flags with the our new branding on it as well for the City of Muskegon. So as the supporter of the motion, I'm going to go to Commissioner Cochin now.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner German, I really appreciate your input and insight into the Juneteenth flag conversation piece specifically. I know that I've heard Commissioner Keener in the past talk about the Juneteenth flag, and that she feels like that flag represents, you know, her, and that the American flag hasn't necessarily been a good representation for her. And so I could see feeling like putting that M on the flag would be an issue. I kind of wish that she was here tonight to ask her what her thoughts were on that. But I do hear what Commissioner German is saying. It does kind of give me pause. The other thing I'm thinking about is that when we talked about the Juneteenth flag, it was because that was a national holiday. And I think that might preclude that from needing to have the M emblem on it. That's just kind of my thought on it. I think that I don't believe that anybody would have any issues, you know, with us putting the Muskegon emblem on the pride flag. Does anybody up here have issues with that? Nope. Okay. So, yeah, that's kind of just what I'm thinking, like off the cuff at this moment. I would love to hear what everyone else's thoughts are about that issue.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. And I did have an opportunity to confer with Commissioner Keener. She was unfortunately not able to be here this evening. There's some health issues that kept her away, unfortunately, and we wish her the best in a swift recovery. She did indicate that she had a couple questions about would the flags be flown all year, so the city manager can speak on that, and in terms of, you know, what happens if there are additional groups that might want city branded flags and what that would look like. I'll defer to the city manager on addressing that question as well, but I wanted to relay her questions. But she did say she loves the idea of and those were her words, I love the idea. However, she did wonder about, you know, what happens down the road if there are, you know, other requests and that come through.
Okay.
So I will, before I go to Vice Mayor St. Clair or Commissioner Gorman to weigh in, I'll ask the city manager just to address those questions from Commissioner Keener in terms of will the flags for Juneteenth Pride be flown all year, and, you know, what happens down the road if there are additional requests or desires.
So the way that I would envision it working is that the flags would be inside City Hall. Flagpoles are rather expensive, and so to add additional flagpoles outside of City Hall wouldn't necessarily be practical. But if there were instances where we wanted to fly either one on the flagpole out front that traditionally has our two-tone city flag on it, that we could fly those there, or really any city park or building where we have a flagpole. And then if other groups want the same, you know, this is a commission action determining what official city flags that we have, and so that would be at the commission's prerogative. I did want to note that, you know, we did have an internal discussion about the Juneteenth flag specifically, and if it was appropriate having the M on there or not, but we thought it was more appropriate to have the discussion publicly as opposed to making the decision for the commission. To address Commissioner German's question. So.
Yeah.
That's appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Vice Mayor St. Clair, anything to ask or add at this time?
I'm wondering if legal counsel could briefly talk about government speech and what that means and how it's different than other speech.
It is different because the government's deciding the message that they're putting out. They are deciding who the speakers are that they're going to have at an event. They are the ones, the government is, in this case, the seven of you, are deciding what the context is. It is absolutely permissible for the government to have government speech and control what is said, the positions taken, etc. And that's what you're doing. And that was our concern some time ago when that was the Supreme Court case with Boston, was what Boston had done, however, was not control its speech. They called it government speech, but then let anybody put up any flag it wanted, no controls, etc. And the Supreme Court made it very clear, if it's going to be government speech, the government's got to be in charge of the speech. And that's what you did several years ago on deciding, you know, no flags, and then expanding out some flags, but you chose which ones to do. And you're doing the same thing here. Might somebody else come forward at some point in time and say, this group would like to have the same opportunities, same flag, opportunity to fly a flag, have our flag flown, whatever, and you can say yes or no.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, this is a protective action that we are
Absolutely.
taking to control what speech is made on behalf of the government of the city of Muskegon. So, I know for me, when we initially made the policy saying we will only fly these specific flags, there was a tremendous amount of public feedback regarding the Juneteenth flag and the Pride flag specifically. I did not hear from any other communities at all. It doesn't mean that they don't exist, but I heard a lot from the community regarding the Pride flag and the Juneteenth flag. So, as a body, we made a decision to change our policy regarding what we were going to do last year, and then we changed it again this year. So, as a body, if we who are elected to represent our constituents hear from our constituents, hey, we also would like to have this flag be flown, then we can deliberate that and say, yes, this is a message that we as the city of Muskegon are comfortable with sharing on behalf of our constituents, and open that conversation up to the community through public feedback and other mechanisms to see, is this what you want to represent your community? Am I understanding this correctly? Is that a fair interpretation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So given that, I'm comfortable with this. Commissioner German, I understand you may be uncomfortable with that, and I want to be respectful of what we do with the Juneteenth flag. If we need to wait to vote on that portion until Commissioner Keener and Commissioner Kilgo are at the table, I'm comfortable with that as well. I know my place and I want to stay in my lane. So that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. We'll go to Commissioner Gorman and then any follow-up before we go to vote. Commissioner Gorman.
Yes, I echo the Vice Mayor, and I would be comfortable with looking at these two flags differently out of respect for my colleagues that are here tonight and that are not here tonight. I do, just want to point out, if our next commission meeting, I don't know what opportunities we would have. Our next commission meeting would be after Juneteenth. So I want to be respectful of acknowledgement of the holiday as well. So however is most appropriate to proceed, that is, what I'm most comfortable with. And I appreciate Vice Mayor St. Clair, you walking us through that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Mr. Manager, you have something to add?
So just for clarification, the flying of the Juneteenth flag the week of Juneteenth, we have those flags. Those will be flown as planned with the non-Muskegon M. Even if the commission were to adopt this, it would be a process to get these flags made, so it would be a little bit of time. Also, having the city logo on there, I don't necessarily think it has to be on there to be an official city flag. We could adopt however we wanted to do that. It's just maybe a way to connect the community to it a little bit more. What was done in Salt Lake City, Utah, and Boise, Idaho is they have similar emblems that like we do, where they put their city emblem on those flags as well. And in those instances, just for a clarification point, both the state of Utah and the state of Idaho had passed legislation that said municipalities could only fly official flags, which is why they adopted those alternatives to these flags as official city flags. We do have examples in Michigan of other cities adopting additional flags to be flown at City Hall. Most are in Metro Detroit or larger metro areas, and they simply just took the flags and added them to their official lineup of flags. There's a variety of options to you all. So,
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And so if we were to adopt those flags as presented, we still could choose to fly a Juneteenth flag without
100%.
the
Yes.
city branding on our
Absolutely.
flagpoles. Whether at City Hall at Hackley Park.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we necessarily would exclusively fly the city branded Juneteenth flag.
Correct.
That said, I do wish to be respectful, of Commissioner German or anyone else's concerns or sentiments around making modifications to the Juneteenth flag, and if even if it's not a flag to be flown on our flagpole, and we continue flying the standard official Juneteenth flag. I just want to, I want to understand if that's if that is a way forward, or if it's like I'd rather not see any modification. Period. Whether it's a flag that's inside City Hall and used for internal purposes versus out external. Does that distinction does that distinction have any significance to you, Commissioner Durham?
Well, and first of all, I want to thank you because I was going to put this on the other business you brought up. Commissioner Keeney couldn't be here, and I was going to bring that to the commissioner's attention because she did reach out to me and she's not really feeling well. So I just want the public to know that, and she wanted them to know that. And I apologize for not being here yesterday because I was out on vacation. So, but I did say that in the legislative meeting last week. So, given that said, and I go to our legal counsel here. The policy we have in place now is still in effect for the flag policy, right? Even though we made the choice to, fly, the Juneteenth flag and the Pride flag. Now, given that said, Juneteenth flag was adopted, actually put in place by the federal government, which is this pretty much on the same level as the United States flag for its independence. Would that be a fair assessment to look at, because it is a federal and a national holiday, the rationale why we could say, oh, okay, we could fly that flag even though we have a policy in place, and it's somewhat different from the Pride flag reasoning for flying it, even though I don't have a problem. I did vote in favor of that, but more of a cause than the actual official recognition of the federal government as a holiday commemorating the independence of Juneteenth. Would that be a fair question to ask legal counsel?
Sure, that's a fair question.
Yeah. Okay.
Can answer it.
Yeah. Your speech doesn't have to match the United States government's speech. At times, frankly, this body has disagreed with the stance or decisions or the speech that the state is making or the federal government is making. I don't view this change to be a legal issue. I think this is a policy issue for the 7 of you. Do you want a Juneteenth flag that represents what Juneteenth national flag looks like with our modifications? On the flip side, on First Amendment, there are a number of fights that have occurred and disagreements philosophically, although not legally, as to denigrating the U.S. American flag. And I'm not advocating that, but I recognize that most people that denigrate the U.S. flag aren't getting prosecuted for it. The federal government takes a very hands-off approach.
Okay.
And please don't take that to mean I think it's okay.
Yeah.
That is not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think I understand part of your questioning and where it stems from, because last year when we talked about flying the Juneteenth flag, I to help square it in my mind or connect it back to the existing policy and in compliance with the existing policy, I was acknowledging that this is a flag tied to a national federal or a federal holiday. I don't think it's necessarily an official U.S. flag, but it is a flag associated with an official U.S. holiday. that has been identified as Juneteenth National Independence Day. And so when we chose last year to fly the Juneteenth flag, I connected it back to that in my mind, and it was like, nope, this is essentially a federal flag, even though it may not be officially a federal flag. Like essentially, it is a U.S. flag in my mind, and therefore, would be in compliance or adherence to the existing policy.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant, about doing the adoption. I don't have a problem with, each year taking a vote to fly both these flags. I'm not trying to open the government open them up to a lawsuit as has happened in other cities. I would feel more comfortable not putting a symbol on that flag. As I stated, I wouldn't do it on the United States flag. And I respect the flag because I'm American. I respect the Juneteenth flag because that represents me as a black man. Independence from my ancestors that went through those atrocities and slavery and gotten their freedom and still struggle to this day under racism, even though these laws was put in place. So if we could not have that symbol on the Juneteenth flag, I could see moving forward to, and I'm not sure if I really want to go and adopt this at this point in time. I'm just kind of, stuck right there because I'm looking at the potential legal ramifications. So,
Thank you, Commissioner German. I'm going to go to follow up for everybody on the commission. I did hear, or we heard, last night at the end of the meeting, Commissioner Kilgo asked for how to acquire this flag if we were to adopt it. So that would suggest me he is interested in it. However, right now I'm inclined, out of respect for Commissioner German, to not necessarily move forward with a vote on the Juneteenth, the city branded Juneteenth flag, so that we have an opportunity for further engagement with their community. Commissioner German has opportunity for further reflection. We have an opportunity to, hear from our other commissioners who are not able to be with us this evening to inform our decision, in the end, with regard to that flag. With regard to the city branded Juneteenth, or the city branded all-inclusive Progress Pride flag, I'm personally comfortable with moving forward with adopting a branded version of that. And folks that I've shared that with or heard from are excited about the prospect of that city branded flag being adopted. And so I'm going to go to Commissioner Cochin, and then we'll go to Vice Mayor St. Clair and Commissioner Gorman and wrap it up before we go to vote. So Commissioner Cochin.
I was gonna ask if we could make an amendment to that to exclude the Juneteenth flag and then move forward with the Pride flag. So you can go to the other guys first.
Okay. When we get to that, I would maybe ask that we try to look at postponing or tabling that aspect of it for a future discussion, just so it doesn't seem like we're now excluding it and taking it off the table entirely. That's just my suggested approach, is perhaps tabling that piece of it for future consideration versus removing it entirely from the motion. But you may wish to go in a different route, and legal counsel might have a different opinion on that approach as well.
You've got a single motion in front of you, and I'm going to kick it down to the clerk, but it seems to me to bifurcate the two issues would certainly be an appropriate thing, and then vote on the bifurcate one and then table the other. But I think we need to bifurcate what are
We need
clearly
to
two different.
restate the motion now, then, and then we can either
Do we vote down the motion?
we could either then make a vote separately, or our motion separately with regard to the Juneteenth flag, and then at that time choose to table it, or we can just refrain from making that motion with regard to the Juneteenth flag, the city branded Juneteenth flag, knowing that at a future date our expectation is to return to the commission with that. that be
Yes.
the, okay, we got agreement from legal counsel as well as the city clerk on that. So think about that approach, and I'm going to go to, did you have something else before I go to Vice Mayor St. Clair? Okay, Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I'm in the weeds a little. So would we be voting down the item and then separating them and proposing them separately, or would we be withdrawing it?
Restate the existing motion. This is a friendly amendment.
Okay.
You know,
Is that
Yes.
okay?
if the motion maker and the supporter of the motion wish to restate the motion as it is, and that's Commissioner German and Commissioner Cochin. So, for the purpose of this discussion, Commissioner German, would you wish to remove reference to the Juneteenth flag from your motion?
It's just not, well, part of the Juneteenth, adopting either flag. That's the thing, because we have looking at the policy, and I prefer to do it as we've done it in the past, is to bring it to the commission, we talk about it and read the resolution, then vote on it. So basically, if we adopt this, we can just fly, the flags at any time, and particularly, how are we talking about flying these flags? We're just talking during the month of June, or are we talking throughout the year? There's no clear language or anything that states how we're going to go about doing this. So, I mean, just give me some, what does that look like?
So like I had said about Commissioner Keener's question, my anticipation is that we would have them here inside City Hall throughout the year, and then we would have the option to fly them outside if we so wanted, but we wouldn't be putting up extra flagpoles out in front of City Hall. Mm-hmm. And then in the month of June, we can choose to fly our official city flags, or if the commission so wishes to fly the standard Juneteenth flag or the standard Pride flag, they would have that prerogative to do so. But it's about providing an additional option for us if we so wanted to fly those at different times of the year as well.
Okay. So basically, in the month of June, we would still have to, it still have to be approved by the commission to fly it on the flagpoles.
Well, we could fly the alternative flags that we're talking about right now without those motions. But if you wanted to do the one such as we're doing this year, then we would probably do those the resolutions. And there's nothing to say that we couldn't do the resolutions anyways. Mm-hmm. So
in fact, I would expect we probably would.
We probably would.
We probably still would bring the resolution.
Yeah.
So
for the commission.
Mm-hmm. So the only option, the difference is that we'll be flying the flag. I mean, the flag will just be present within the halls of Muskegon City Hall as an adopted flag for both. Okay, back to legal counsel. Okay. Again, what are the chances of a lawsuit for this? I mean,
you can always be sued for anything you do.
Yeah.
But that has not stopped us, the city, from taking action. I mean, we can get sued when a police officer goes out on the road, and yet we wouldn't even consider telling the police officer stay in the building.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the friendly amendment.
Or maybe the easiest is withdraw the existing motion and start with a new
you
motion.
could.
I was kind of thinking of that too. Yeah.
Or I was gonna say withdraw, or if we wanted to table the whole thing for for the discussion later too, I
think that would be the best
that's
option.
fine as well.
Yeah.
I'm good with moving forward with the pride flag as it is. Why would we table the pride flag piece? I mean,
I'm just providing you guys an option.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see any. I think the issue is whether the concern is the potential modification of the Juneteenth flag. I don't think there's necessarily concern about modification of the all-inclusive pride flag. So, I mean, unless there's an intent by this commission, like, no, these things should be handled together, period, under any motion or any circumstances, that's fine. But I mean, unless there's reservation about, moving forward with the city branded pride flag, I think that there's enough support for that to move forward, and we can do so while it's still Pride Month. We won't have them necessarily, available because they won't be delivered in time, but at least that's been done. And so I like the idea that the city manager just suggested of just withdrawing the motion and starting a new motion. But that's up to the commission to decide.
Yeah.
That was actually the attorney.
Oh, the attorney
He
suggested
suggested
that.
that.
Okay. The attorney.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought I got a promotion.
Yeah. Yes, Vice Mayor St. Clair.
So either way, Commissioner German either needs to modify his motion or withdraw his motion for us to proceed.
Or we can vote on
Or we
the
can vote
the
as
motion on the
is.
table. Yeah.
Or the more formal of a motion to amend.
That can also happen. Someone may choose to put forward a motion to amend the motion on the table.
Okay.
So basically, okay.
Complicated.
If I move to table it, the whole item for that that's on the agenda there, and bring it back with new language and the modifications, that would give me time to really digest this and think about it right now. Because if we vote on it now, I'm going to vote no. I'm going to tell you right now. I prefer to table it and bring it back. We're already flying the Juneteenth flag and the Pride flag right now. So, and I can understand what you're saying. Also, you don't see an issue with Pride flag right now, but I prefer to just, bring the item back and have it detailed clearly, and then go ahead and move forward there.
Can you speak on that? You just said detailed clearly, and you mentioned a moment ago you wanted modifications and new language, but I don't think we've discussed any of those things. So what modification, new language are you specifically referring to, or detail?
Well, for instance, not having the M on the Juneteenth flag for once. Okay, that needs to be stated. And as Commissioner Gorman, I believe she mentioned about the other commissioners not being here, we moved forward before with the body that we have, but I can respect the fact that this flag and what it represents, and I think it would be essential for those other two commissioners to be present and to have an opportunity to speak and cast their vote on this actual item. Again, like I said, I struggle with the adoption of the flag because possible lawsuit that it could possibly open, but as legal counsel stated, it could possibly be sued for almost anything. But I mean, I think it's probably would be looked at because other groups are going to want to have their flags flown, and I think we're opening up a floodgate doing this by, if we choose to adopt it. I mean, that's just my thoughts, but it gives the argument for not being equitable if we don't allow those other groups to fly their flags, and if we vote against it or don't adopt it. So that's why I have some pause right now, and I'd just like to see it tabled and brought back to the commission at a later date.
Thank you, Commissioner German. We do have is that a motion?
Oh, yeah, well, I make that motion. Yeah.
So we have a motion to table the item on the table. Table the motion on the table. Do you have a date in terms of which you wish to table it till?
Yeah, let's take a look.
And I believe we're going to be experiencing absences in the coming meetings as well. So,
well, given the
that's
fact,
dilemma.
Yeah, given the fact that we've already voted on the flying of both flags, I was going to say the 24th of June, but you just stated that it might be some.
I believe Commissioner Kilgo would be back. Commissioner Garman, are you gone on June 24th? No, you are here. Okay. So depending on we maybe it was the July I'm thinking of that you might not. Okay. So then maybe just Commissioner Keener that may or may not be able to make that
July 8th,
June 24th. So we can bring it back June 24th. That's
if everybody's going to be here, I think.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I think that we could move forward with the one, but if we want to table both until June 24th, that's the will of the commission.
So that's my motion.
Support.
We have a motion to table to June 24th, this item. So, motion made by Commissioner German, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. There's no discussion for tabling. That goes to roll call.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. That concludes our agenda. We do not have any unfinished business. We have no new business at this time. Before we go to general public comment, is there any other business to raise, commissioners or staff? No? No? All right. Well, I will celebrate the Muskegon Pride Group as well as Dallas Production and JC's and all the other organizations and all the other sponsors and all the other vendors that put on Muskegon Pride Festival, the Pride and Festival this past Saturday. It was located at Hackley Park this year, and I thought it went phenomenally well. I think it was the largest turnout to date. It was a very well attended, beautifully diverse group of people, and I think it was a fitting setting. And just want to say thanks and kudos to everyone that was involved with putting on that event. All of the organizers, all the sponsors, all the vendors, and everyone who turned out to celebrate. So it was a very nice event, and I wanted to acknowledge that. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Thank you for mentioning that, and that reminds me, I wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of the Juneteenth parade.
Yes.
That is coming on the 19th, and I'm scrambling through my brain and drawing a blank on what time that is.
I want to say it's 11 or noon.
So that's
And it's on June 19th, so it's a Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's see.
I think that will be another fun time.
And that could be a good opportunity to have conversations with folks in our community about a city-branded Juneteenth
at
flag
11.
At that event. And there are also activities happening in Hackley Park after the parade. So, we could look to have some conversations if there is an interest in having a city-branded Juneteenth flag.
It's 11 until 4.
Okay, so the parade's at 11, and then activities in Hackley Park continue until 4 p.m. That day. So next Thursday, June 19th. All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Commissioner Cochin?
That's what I was going to bring up.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Anything else to bring up under any other business? Nope. All right. Anything from staff? Nope.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, one more thing.
Oh, yes.
That's right. I forgot about it. This Thursday at 3:30 at Fisherman's Landing is the Public Safety Youth Fishing Derby. And a lot of kids really enjoy going to that. So if you've got kids at home and you want to bring them out, it is this Thursday, June 12th. And it starts at 3:30 for sign-in, but fishing goes from 4 to 5:30. And it's for youth age to 12.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing that up. I know that's a very well-attended event, and our public safety personnel love participating in that and putting that on. All right. Then we're going to go to general public comment, and I have one form right now. A couple forms. If anyone else in the audience wishes to give public comment, I do encourage you to complete the public comment form in the back of the room and provide your name and home address. I will not share your home address. That will be for our internal records. I will acknowledge which neighborhood you're joining us from if you are a city resident, and if you're not a city resident, which other township, village, or city you're joining us from. So first up, we have Bob Garrettson joining us from the Nelson neighborhood. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commission. Just had two quick items. One, I really wanted to applaud the Women's Veterans Day. There's hundreds of women veterans that are here in Muskegon, and their contributions are incredible. One of the things that I was front and center for that I got to witness was the integration on women aboard combat vessels. So I was the officer in charge of that on USS Blue Ridge in 1993 and 1994 when they repealed the Combat Exclusion Act. And the two things it reminded me of were both fear and courage. Because when we were rolling that out to the ship's company of men, they were so frightened of what this change would mean because they'd only worked on all-male naval vessels. And for the women, it was coming on board with excitement and with courage because they got to serve alongside in a combat role with men that they had been excluded from until that time. So I think recognizing that it's not just the courage that's in combat, it's the courage that those women had going forward and going into a new situation and going into a dangerous place that they faced every day. The second item is just an item of caution about the discussion about flags. And I just wanted to say, during this meeting, you spent about 3 times the amount of time talking about flags than you did talking about Public Works or Parks and Rec or housing or economic development. And while Vice Mayor St. Clair did say that there hasn't been other groups that have approached to have their flags flown, because this has become a little bit of a divisive and a bit more front and center, I don't want this to become the City Flag Commission and have you guys take up too much of your time on the issue of the flags rather than the issues for the city. So just want to be cautious about that because, that could end up being a gift that keeps on giving, as it is now for the next City Commission meeting. And I would say that this is a time to try to maybe have a policy that's more evergreen so that it can last and doesn't have to be revisited either every year or every meeting or over and over again. So thank you so much for your time, and thanks again for recognizing those women veterans in our committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Garrettson. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Next up, we have Bob Hall joining us from the Campbell Field neighborhood. Welcome, sir. You have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Morning. Bob Hall, American Legion, post number 9 here in Muskegon. For 7 years, I've been taking these poppies down to the farmer's market. This year, we're told we can only have 3 days. This money that we get here, it's not asked for, it is donated. People come to us. We do not ask them for any money. Every penny stays here in Muskegon, helps a veteran that is in need. In the month of May, this past May, we spent over $5,000 to help 2 vets that needed taken care of, that VA wouldn't take care of them because it wasn't military related. In January, we spent $3,600 on 2 vets that needed specialized x-rays that, again, it wasn't caused by the military. But we can't do this if we can only go 3 times. We normally go 6 or 7. It's been 7 years I've been doing this. Never had a problem. I don't know why it changed. Nobody has been able to tell me. They said it was done here, so that's why I'm here. Because we need to get these guys and take care of them. If they can't pay a heating bill, we take the bill. We don't give them the money. These came from a prison made by American Legion members. They have their own Legion inside the prison. That's where we get these. So we're helping them so that we can get this out to help the veterans here in Muskegon. Every dime stays here. I'd like to know, what do we have to do to be able to go down there more than 3 times? We've been doing it a long time. I think we should have been grandfathered into it because we've been doing it a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you joining us this evening, and thank you for your service and your ongoing contributions to our community. And I will be happy to continue this conversation with you. Next up, we have Rainey Starr joining us from the city of Northern Shores by way of the McLaughlin neighborhood. Welcome. You have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
I'm Renee Starr, the pastor and president of Open Gates of Grace Ministries, which is located at 1428 Terrace Street. And our ministry really specializes in assisting the homeless. Back in June 4th, last week, I was at Lowe's. We're doing a big project, supplying 22 units, additional units for housing for the homeless with a small grant we got from the city. And the people were talking there. It was a new person that was working in the store, and they were telling them, don't move to the city of Muskegon, particularly. They are riddled with violence, drugs, and homeless people everywhere. And I just sort of listened to that and thought, wow. And then in addition to that, last week I was watching, not last week, but the week before, watching the city commission meeting. And the planning director came up and spoke of making a decision to define families and make it that there should only be 4 people in a house. And one of the reasons he made that decision was because he thought of me in an event that he felt, according to what he said to me 4 years ago when I first decided to move more forward with our homeless ministry. We've been in ministry since 2016. He said, I don't care about homeless people, Renice, and they can remain under a bridge for all I care. With that in mind, we have consistently received so much hostility. I listened to everyone talking about the flags and how it's important for diversity, equity, and inclusion with showing our flags for Pride as well as Juneteenth for African Americans and what we've been through. Yet, I have never received so much racism and hostility in any city. And I grew up from leaving the city of Muskegon as a young girl in the early 80s to moving into Ravenna, where they literally had Ku Klux Klan meetings. And they treated me with better respect of the city of Muskegon. Some of the things that I've gone through here, I don't even have time to say. But we need to first look at the diversity in how we treat our people. We have less than 1% African American businesses and minority businesses, and we're nearly 50% minority. That tells you of our systems. I want to see us work more at learning how to treat people opposed to only flying our flags.
Thank you, Ms. Starr. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll go to the phones. That's 231-724-6721. When calling in, this is general public comment now. This is an opportunity for folks to give their input up to 3 minutes. It's not a time for Q&A or back and forth engagement. Please turn down any audio in the background when you're calling in. Announce yourself, state your name, and if you are a City of Muskegon resident, which neighborhood you're calling from, and if you're not a City of Muskegon resident, which other township, village, or city you're calling from. Good evening. Please announce yourself, and you have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Hi, James from Muskegon again. Clearly, Mayor Johnson doesn't understand the violent nature of doxing, as he deliberately tried to dox me again at the end of my public comment earlier in this meeting. In his Facebook comments, the mayor has a history of demanding residents reveal their identity in order to engage in public policy discourse with him. His actions completely disregard his residents' First Amendment right to choose anonymity when speaking to elected officials. Mayor Johnson should refrain from bullying and forcing residents to dox themselves in order to exchange ideas with him. In my earlier comments, I suggested Mayor Johnson apologize for his doxing action. Instead of offering an apology for his violent behavior, he doubled down and doxed me again. The city should heavily consider adding a segment to our code of ethics outlining a prohibition on doxing of the public by elected officials and city employees. Ultimately, it seems my Facebook posts and the comments I made here tonight have led to meaningful discussion by this body, and I applaud Commissioner German for taking a stand. Mayor Johnson should welcome all ideas, whether anonymous or of known origin, in the hopes of giving a fair and equal voice to all his constituents.
He hung up.
Oh, the caller has hung up. Well, thank you for calling in and sharing your additional perspective and exercising your First Amendment rights as we cherish in this city and make available such options. Any other callers?
No, Mayor.
All right. If there are no other callers, no one else in the audience wishing to give public comment, then commissioners, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner German to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you. Take care and be well.